morning and welcome. Welcome back to Who Am I? Who am I? What is who am I? Well, the way I describe it, let me open this up. The way I describe it on my YouTube channel is I say that it's law of attraction meets unified physics. Who am I is a stream of consciousness discussion of reality. Who am I? Where did I come from? Who are we? Actually, I didn't say that, but where are we going? What is source energy? How can a better understanding of ourselves and source energy solve the problems of humanity, free us from fossil fuels, from gravity, and help us create an abundant future for all of us here on planet Earth? It is a discussion combining unified physics, law of attraction, and human psychology, all from a layman's perspective. Wow, that sounds so grand. But you know, since I changed the description of the video, I finally have people I finally have people listening to the show. For like the last 9 months, the average watchership was like 1. I had one person, I think, who was a diehard fan, who was following me, who was listening to the way I was developing. Because what am I doing? I'm channeling my own inner being. I'm learning how to let my inner voice come out and be big enough to be heard as I muse about who are we, as I think about the nature of reality. And, you know, because aren't all of us doing this? We're born into this world and we bang around and we're told by our whoever, our parents, our religion, what reality is and what the meaning of your experience is and what the way to go about getting the best result, you know, and then you watch and you have to figure it out. You're like, what's going on? What is this medium I'm swimming in? What are the rules of the game? There are rules. See, I didn't realize that there actually were. There are rules of the game in the world of, I'm not even sure where you put this. Psychology, human experience, sociology. There's a realm where there actually are rules to the game that are hard and fast. And I didn't know what they were. Different religions say that the rules are different. But in actual fact, there is a form to the universe. There is a flow to it. There's an actual thing that you can understand about reality. Now, one of the first things you got to know about reality is that the physical part of it, the physical shape of it, you know, where the galaxies are located and what everything's made, the configuration of particular planets, or, you know, the shape of things specifically changes all the time. The form changes and changes and changes and changes, and you can't hold it down if you want to. You can try, and you can sort of hold it-ish, but you can't. Nothing stays the same. Everything changes except for the laws. There's nothing you can do to change that. Doesn't that sound familiar? That's one of our 5 laws of Bashar. The 5 laws I get from Bashar, for just in case there's new people in the room, and there might be new people all the time now. I have to just assume that I've got new people. Welcome to the room of humanity. That's grand. Who am I, by the way? In a way, it doesn't matter. The really detailed specifics of who am I doesn't really matter. I am any human, planet Earth, And the things that I want to talk about are actually, I want to talk about the things that are common to us, not the things that are specific to us. And so in a way, I kind of got to leave my specific self behind in order for me to enter this room and talk about these things. Who am I? I'm nobody. Who are we? We are everything. And yet, I am not nobody. Nobody's nobody. We're all somebody. And that's the secret to making a really beautiful, blessed existence here on planet Earth, is to embrace who we are, how it is with a capital I, what we actually have to work with, what could be. You know, we have spelled it out throughout our time on planet Earth. I think we have quite clearly stated who we are and what we want. What do we want? What do we want? I'll tell you, you know what? It's so easy to see what we want. We're so cool, and we're so sweet, and we're so wonderful, even the shitty ones amongst us. It all depends on how you train your eyes, you know, to what we're looking at here. But honestly, if you can train your eyes to see only the best of us, and while on the other hand, I am not delusional, I actually do see how shitty, rotten, horrible, and hopeless we are. So just in case anybody wants to say, no, we aren't that great. No, I get it. But see, the key is, the trick is, and it is a trick, you train your eyes to focus upon the desired aspect of it, the part of it that you want. Because the very act of focus and attention is the literal currency of the actual universe. And what you are focusing on is what you are getting in your life. It's really the truth. And so you just have to maybe examine that sentence a little more carefully. What you are looking at, what you are focusing on, is what you are getting. That's the truth. But now, how is that true? Because maybe you're like, I think about money all the time and I don't have any money. No, what you're thinking about all the time is that I don't have enough money. What am I going to do? Because I don't have enough money. I need more money. And you know, look at where if I don't get this money, then this is going to happen. I need to buy this, and I need to buy this, and I don't have any money. And so you're spending all your time thinking about a lack of money. It's the spirit of the thing that matters more than what you think are the hard physical what is the hard physical topic. Because, like Abraham says, every subject is really two subjects. The presence of that subject or the absence of that subject. And it's really deeper than that. It goes into wanted or unwanted. So you have desires. You are desire. That's what you are. Now, I know a lot of people don't think about it this way, because if you aren't thinking about pure desire, if you think about twisted desire or tangled up desire or misunderstood desire, or I'm turned backwards trying to move forward on a desire that I'm confused about desire, now you're starting to talk about misalignment, and those desires now become more dark. And so even though I'm saying that we are light, we are love, and we are desire, if your desire is not, if it's tangled up with the threads of this picture, you're turned backwards, you're trying to move forwards, you're moving on desire that's misinterpreted, and it's now moving darkly. Because what's happening, that's how come. So I say that we are desire, and that is blessed, and you need to follow that desire. You need to find your clear desire, your uncontradicted desire. And so you may have to work with it. You uncontradicted by what? Your beliefs about it. What I can do. What's possible. Who I am. You know, what everybody else is doing. So your beliefs about the situation. I want X, but I'm not going to go that way. I can't have it. I can't move in that direction because it will say if I believe, well, I want a fleet of Lamborghinis, but all I have in the bank is $5. So I can't have that fleet of Lamborghinis, so I'm just going to leave it right there. That's actually a problem because we are meant to be moving in the direction of what we want. And if you don't learn how to move in the direction of what you want, you won't be happy, no matter what you're doing, because you are designed to move in the direction of what you want. That's literally, and you don't even have to say anything else. You are designed to move in the direction of what you want. Move in the direction of what you want. Those 8 words are really important. That's how you're designed. And if you aren't doing that in some small or large way, feeling effective and clear in some manner, you aren't going to be happy. You need to move in the direction of what you want. And so this is the follow your bliss. But most people, they don't get all the way to bliss. They're like, my bliss is so far away. I would settle for a moment of peace, a moment of stillness so that I can think for just a minute, before I'm launched into something else. Bliss. So you are your desire, and if you do not move in the direction of your desire, you do not feel happy. You have to keep up to speed with yourself. You have 2 selves, and one is very pitifully inadequate to the other one. One is mighty. It's connected to all things, and it's connected to all of us, and it's connected to universal consciousness, and it's connected to the actual reality of all of the field around us. And so it's mighty, mighty, mighty. And you know what that one's doing? It's expanding. Because that's what the universe is doing. Because that's how it rolls. It's learning. There's a feed forward, feedback. As all of the individual reporting points, of which you're one. You're a reporting point. Did you know that? Actually, all points are. Because it's happening across the field, whether or not there's a consciousness. So my table is reporting its information up to the wholeness of the field, of the Almighty or whatever, up to the allness that we are, because we are. There is allness, there is oneness. And so actually that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about, I suppose. These aspects of you. You have lots of different aspects. Who am I? I'm a human being. I belong to the biofield of I am also a cell, if you will, on the surface of planet Earth. I am a particle spinning around my sun. I am a tiny, minuscule mote of matter in the field of my galaxy and my cluster, supercluster. I am a teeny weeny little cell in the life of my universe, and I am one with all things. So who am I? Remember, that's the name of the show. Who am I? And what's the meaning of our lives? I ask myself this all the time, and I'm not going to pretend that the little me that is doing this show knows all the answers, because she certainly doesn't. She's making her way, just like all of us are, asking these questions. Who am I? I've lived my life over 6 decades, and I'm working on my 7th one. I have seen a lot of things. In my 20s was when a lot of my world started to shift, and I noticed, Big ag came in and started swallowing up the small family farms. And instead of the countryside being dotted with family farms run by, individuals with their sons and daughters and it all got swept into a big, monstrous, soulless machine. And it's kind of still that way out there. That is still going on out there. Although it's breaking back up. It's gonna go back to the small. And family farms will become a thing again. It's all going to diversify here shortly. But what we really need to add to this equation is we've got to get off fossil fuels. And I think the first step happens in our consciousness. As we collectively realize that it is possible to get off fossil fuels. And we don't have to just keep waiting until those in charge of us figure it out. Those who are in the energy industry. Well, I'll tell you what, all the ones in the actual energy sector of our society, our human flow of our action, because we are a superorganism. We really are. We have to start thinking like a big creature, not just a collection of disconnected little creatures. We are a superorganism, and we should be thinking in terms of, what do we want clearly from the point of view of the superorganism? Well, we want to survive, but I don't want just survive. I want sustainability. I want joyful sustainability. Isn't that what you want? I want joyful sustainability. And you got to believe it's possible to even start thinking. And I'll tell you, one way to believe that it's possible for joyful sustainability is to not look too closely at what we've got, because what we're doing right now is definitely neither joyful nor sustainable. Although there's plenty of joy in there, and you've got to train your focus. So, like I was saying about how to train the way that you focus. Because what you're looking at and how you are looking at it is what you're getting. And so you have to start training yourself to focus on the aspects of the world around you that you prefer, while at the same time taking in the information of what's off with the world that you would like to change. But you can't change the world, the offness of the world, the negative of the world to a positive that you'd rather, from a perspective of yourself coming from a negative. You can't do it from a negative. If you're all sad, or if you're all pessimistic, or if you're all angry, or if you're all, whatever, what are all the negative emotions? We could look at them. Let's see. Emotional guidance scale. I got it here somewhere. What are all the negative emotions? They start at boredom. And that's the devil's workshop, isn't it? Or the devil's playground. That boredom is the one. And the problem with boredom comes when we've got a lot of negative energy in the field that is... It's almost like a kinetic energy, and it's just sitting there. I call it, if you've listened to more than one of my shows, I often bring it up. I call it, it's kind of three things. You could call it a bunch of other things too, but the words I've settled on are Loki energy, or Shiva energy, or demonic energy. By the time you've said the third word, people are like, oh, okay, I know what kind of energy you're talking about. That kind of energy, it's sort of it's a kinetic energy. It's sitting there on the ground, left by others. And what leaves this energy? What I think leaves this energy is when I, driving my starship, go into a negative state of my power supply. I'm in a negative state. I'm somewhere from boredom on down, and I act. I leave a kind of a contrail behind me that's negative. I acted negatively, so I'm probably pissed at somebody. I told somebody off, or I did something that was out of alignment and I possibly hurt somebody's feelings, or I physically hurt somebody, or if I was in design of some sort, I built something that I took impulses from the wrong place and now it's got a flaw in it. It's gonna break, it's gonna come down. It doesn't support the rest of the field. Somebody is going to, and so it stirs up these energies in us. And then along come our young people with maybe they're raised in kind of a neutral place, but without a lot of guidance, and they have this I don't know. I'm musing and I'm pondering, but the fact of the matter is we shouldn't be blaming the individuals who stumble upon the dark energy that we leave around and pick it up and do something, they burn it to the ground. The only reason they burnt it to the ground is because we built it in the first place in misalignment, not with who we are and not with the impulses of Source, who is trying to organize us, by the way. There is an energy field that is trying to organize us in a loving, kind, connected, wise, sustained, joyful, playful way. And if we would find the spirit of that and rest in faith about that and just go that way, the world, we could just make the world a better place. It would be so easy. The problem is all the resistance, all the places where we're bristling and we're all balled up and fighting something. In actual fact, there's a flow going on all around us that if we would just join it, just enter universal consciousness. Everybody's there. What do we all want there? The wants, the things that we want there are clear. They're clear things. And we're the ones individually who have to translate those clear desires into the specificity of our individual lives. So what do we want in clarity? We want things like beauty and fun. We want comfort. We want surprise and delight. We want relationship. We want abundance. I want things like, so I don't care what the ecosystem looks like. I'm delighted every single time if I walk out into a natural space or drive through a natural space or have, some experience of a natural space, camp in a natural space, or just know that those natural spaces are there. I have been distressed during the course of my life. In my 20s, I had big step one moments where I felt strong desire for my world to be different than it was. It was so mean. It was so cruel. It was, what we did to animals was just the things that make me cry are the things that have to do with animals and the dying planet. Because it feels to me like I am my planet and that it is not just an exercise in me, empathizing with another species. It's to watch the sixth mass extinction is to watch myself die. And I knew that and I could feel it, and the people around me seemed to be looking closer in at their own lives, And I had a harder time seeing my own life really close, but boy, could I see that bigger picture. And we're all made differently, and it's all one picture. There is one picture of a now thing that is happening right now, that is alive, that is moving, that we are a part of, that you can actually get into the swing, up to speed with now. It takes a bit of work. It takes a bit of work. It takes a bit of faith. You've got to believe that there's a picture there to be seen. We are part of a greater pattern. And the pattern is, on the one hand, the pattern is a simple one, and it doesn't feel particularly profound. But it is through this impersonal pattern that the whole thing is organizing us upon. But it's up for each one of us individually to call the specific shape of your specific, where you specifically are. That's your job, the specific. But know that you are part of a larger pattern. And what is this simple pattern? It's spin. That's what it is. It's spin. It's the spiral. But it's so profound, it'll just knock your socks off when you finally realize how both simple and how profound it is, and how it really does help us organize along the lines of order and coherence and alignment and clarity and efficiency and love and all of those things, while at the same time allowing each diverse, authentic individual to call how they see it from where they stand in a way that's, it's just breathtakingly brilliant. It's breathtakingly brilliant. And it's the inward spin is the gravity and love. And the outward one is the electromagnetic fields and all of the centrifugal forces and the centripetal forces, or I might be saying all of those words wrong, and the Coriolis forces and the outward things in the physics of the universe. And who am I? Who am I? Well, the trickiest thing about you is and this is the thing to the realization of our times. We are the field. I am the quantum field, and there is some overlap between you and me. I am my individual self, and that is divine and blessed. And as I man the center of my center, I develop my own momentum of positivity that I drive through the spaces in order to weather the storms of chaos that surround me, because there are storms. People are jagging off on their little storms of negative emotion all over the place. And how do you weather that? You get into the center of your own center. You start a momentum of positivity as you learn to focus on the aspects of the manifestation that you prefer, as opposed to focusing on the ones that you don't prefer. And you learn how to build your life built out of the threads of all of these things that you prefer. Turns out it's a spirit, it's a frequency. It's a frequency of, guess what the frequency is? It's faith. Wow. It's how come the religions have been talking about it for so long, because it really is important. But then they attach it to a bunch of weird things, weird stuff that you have to believe that too, I kind of set faith aside for the longest time. Actually, I had a kind of faith. I lived my whole life a kind of simple faith. It was, I was flying by the seat of my pants, and I was just giving it a bang, go out there, throwing things at the wall to see what would stick. Living a very individual, sort of hermitized, in a way, weak and small life. But I think I did that on purpose, because I didn't want to connect to the greater world in a really, 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 really meaningful way unless it was on my terms. And so I've always been, very much to myself, kind of thinking things through for myself, figuring them out for myself kind of a person. And I don't join groups, and I didn't believe my religion, and I didn't believe my fathers, my forefathers, as they said, we know what we're doing. As we come out of World War II, where we almost murdered the world and we're all sitting on atomic bombs now. I grew up in that world of the Cold War and, Cuba right there next to us, in alliance with Russia over there across the world, and all of us with the capability of, destroying us all. And what is the meaning of this? After the Allies come in and find Auschwitz and all of the aftermath of that hideous, absolutely unbelievable thing that we did last century, that human beings perpetrated upon one another. Once you do that, then you tell the children what it all means. Because I didn't believe him anymore. I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't think that you know where we're going. I don't think you know what we're doing. I don't think you know how it works. And so I went my own way. And of course, I didn't know how it worked either. And so I had a varying degrees of success and failure. And since I am the kind of person who I live a little bit of life and then I stop and I think about it, what was that? What did that mean? Since I'm that kind of a person in life, at some point, yes, I had to stop and do it again and ponder the meaning of, all of that. So I was married to an alcoholic for 7 years. And then he died in a car accident when our kids were just getting ready to turn 6. Actually, that's not quite the math. I was married to him for almost 6 years, and I was with him for 7 years. Is that right? The right math? It's ishy. It's ishy. Somewhere 6, 7 years. I was pregnant when we got married, and they weren't quite 6 when he died in a car accident. And that whole roller coaster of a ride, which had to do with all kinds of things, were in there. Love, for sure. I loved him. He was a darling, sweet, wonderful man who I accepted into my life because of the kind and gentle way he was with his grandmother and his mother and his nieces and his sisters. The way he felt about women. But then he had another thing, he kind of beat up on me. Not literally. He didn't ever really raise a hand to me. I wouldn't have put up with that, and he knew where my boundaries were. But anyway, I had to go back and ponder the whole meaning of that and notice that the relative places where I succeeded in my life best was when I softened and looked at it more kindly, more openly, more broadly, more from a standpoint of broader understanding. Did things go better for me? And any place where I, acted in anger or in a negative emotion, things never worked out for me very well if I ever acted on negative emotion. And fortunately, it is not my nature to do so much. I mean, you can get me worked up for a flash, but I try not to ever stay there in a meaningful way, because our negative self is not our best self. It's not our connected self. It's not our true self. It is a self that it's not a fake self, but it's not our true self either. And when we operate from our negative self and act on that negative self, we create a kind of energy in the quantum field that is disruptive to the field around us. We're a field phenomenon, and those kind of energies left lying around Well, I can see that from this direction, looking at it that way is not all that clear. And so people, I might have just lost some people. But maybe not. Maybe not. It's one of my pet ideas. I think that there is an effect when we act on our negative self, who is not really us. When we look out at others acting on their negative selves and we believe what we're seeing in physicality more than we know who they are in reality. Because you got to know, there's really, in actual fact, according to, from the point of view of our inner being, who is in touch with all of it, who is reverberating across the whole field with all the information, wants all of us to succeed, sees how we are cooperative components to a single, both a single, what's the word? Ambition? A single quest, project, life itself, project life. We're all engaged in that, and then each individual has their little individual thing, but human beings have another thing, and that is we're human beings. And to be a human being is a very special thing indeed. I think we were genetically modified by somebody some 200,000 years ago. And I think it makes our story really interesting. I think we have a really interesting story. I think we're genetically modified. And one of the reasons I believe this is because of, so I know of a fused chromosome within our body. And I also know that the likelihood that this happened accidentally, I think Greg talks about how unlikely this fusion is to have been accidental. Sort of like on the order of if a hurricane or a tornado went through a junkyard, how likely is it that all of the parts, say it went through a junkyard that had maybe even had all the parts of a 747, how likely is it that after the hurricane is done that you know the one, you know that analogy, it's that kind of unlikely. So here it is. Here is our, this is just a little thing. So I've been to several Greg Braden seminars, and he's pretty cool. I have taken his information and run off in my own direction with it. And, he can do the stuff that he does. And he tries to stay up to date in the real world with real scientific thought and mindset and such, and keep us apprised of that so that us in the spiritual community are in touch with the real state of affairs out there in our society. That's his thing. It's okay. It's good. And then he takes you on, he does trips around the world because he studies ancient civilizations and ancient wisdom. And actually, I don't want to cut Greg short by summing him up too small. He's actually very cool. That's why I use his slides. And he's the one that pointed us to human chromosome number 2, which turns out to be a large portion of the volume of our neocortex, which is part of our thinking mind system, part of what makes us human. It gives us our range of human emotion, from our ability to feel powerful negative emotion and hold on to it and spin thought from it, that capability, all the way to our exalted higher, connected to greater things, emotions. Gives us our emotional range. And a large part of this volume comes from human chromosome number 2. Now, this is just a little article that it's hidden, it's buried deep in the middle of pnas.org. Now, I should go look and see, because I think that this says how many views it's gotten. I don't know if I have how many views. Yeah, 40,000 views. That's how many it was when 40,520 views when I clipped this. I wonder how many people have viewed this since. And if it's an extra 10,000, it's got to be because we're starting to talk. Hey, this is a possible genetic modification that we've got in our genes. And this would have been done back when anatomically modern humans appeared on planet Earth. I think this is the missing link. I don't think you're going to find it in the bones. I think it's going to be stuff like this. So anyway, this PNAS is the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It's where our scientific disciplines, our scientific schools of thought. It's the structure of our sciences is all these different fields of specialized thought out there, gathering highly, highly, highly specialized information in their field. And then they publish it to each other, to peers, because it's such highly specialized language that only another geneticist can really understand exactly what they're saying. This is the full abstract. And here, look at what it says. It says, we conclude that highly specialized language. But what it is the 4 or 5 pages of the article itself is that what it is it's sequencing the whole chromosome and then describing it. In the description of the sequences, you can see that what it is it's two. We conclude it's the relic of an ancient telomere-to-telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. How interesting is that? How interesting is that? And I've never heard anybody really, I've never heard the mainstream sciences take that, and bring it into, do we have a institute of extraterrestrial studies from an actual, an organization that has all the information, both hidden and not hidden? And why do I think that some of the extraterrestrial stuff is being hidden from us? The reason I think it's being hidden from us is because UFOs are demonstrating technology that we are led to believe is not possible. It's demonstrating power sources that we are led to believe are not possible. We are all told to sit back and wait for clean fusion, clean fusion is going to save the world, and we're almost there. We're practically there. And then when we start to get discouraged, yeah, we're almost there. Bull. The fact is we could get off fossil fuels now. And how do we do it? I'll tell you how we do it. The first thing we do is we got to understand that over unity is possible. It is possible to have a device that puts out more energy than it takes us to run it. And the reason that is because of the 0-point energy field. There's energy everywhere. When you have a device that's maybe locked into the magnetic field of the earth or something, and it's putting out energy, it's not creating energy out of nothing. Just because you are not having to put more energy in to get more energy out does not mean that you are creating energy out of nothing, and you are not violating the laws of physics. And most conventionally educated people, that's what they immediately are. That's what we're kind of led to believe. Over unity isn't possible. It's against the laws of physics. Well, it isn't. And so there could be a jillion clever devices that would incrementally start taking the pressure off of fossil fuel. And yes, for a while we still need to burn fossil fuel. I don't know of a way to get to the other side of the planet this year or even next year without using a fossil fuel burning jet to do it. But it is possible to do it in other ways, and we need to start exploring those other ways. We need to start thinking about gravity control and different forms of energy. And I know that some people do think about it, but like I said, if you're actually in the energy sector, then you've been captured by the fossil fuel industry already. And so you are not actively, our commercial energy sector is not the full brunt or thrust or power, whatever you want to call, of the might of the will of the United States of America, the people of the United States of America, or of the world. And actually of the United States of America, but then it should be open source for the whole world. We could put our mind to this, our collective mind. I'll tell you how you do it. Make a national contest, over unity contest. And anybody who comes up with a device that puts out, there's a threshold, because you don't just want it to be enough to run a light bulb. Heck, a potato battery can give you that. But, and it probably takes more conventional energy to grow that potato than you're going to get out of it, running the light bulb. But in any case, anybody who comes up with a device that puts out X threshold of energy wins $1 million. And then the design of it is open source, and anybody out there who wants to follow that design or modify that design, it's not patented, it's not controlled by anybody, we all own it. We could have a whole bunch of devices out there in the world quickly, and all kinds of great ideas, and farmers everywhere, and people everywhere. Yeah, they'll still have to use a little fossil fuel for this and that and the other thing, but they can start relieving the pressure off of whatever it is they're doing by over unity devices. And then the holy grail, the big kahuna, is not clean fusion, because that still requires that you distribute it all over the place by virtue of wires, by virtue of contracts. You still have somebody producing it and making money, selling it to somebody else who then, it's still that kind of transfer of energy. And that's not what we want either, because you want power in the hands of somebody out in the middle of the South Pacific with no infrastructure of any sort. You want them to be able to run their equipment too, so that they can have their little farms, or their little papaya farms, or their little, whatever, as they sustain their own biological lives on the one hand, and then they have enough energy left over that they can clean up their space and attract the rest of the world to come in and visit them. Because I promise you, this is what we want to do for our future. This is going to be part of the permanent thing of what we do, is going to be circulate us, literally circulating around the planet, visiting one another, tasting each other's food, visiting each other's theme parks, taking note of each other's, the way that, how did you handle the wastewater problem in your area, and how did you solve this issue and that issue and the other issue, as we exchange amongst each other our best ideas. We should be right now all over the world. Well, let's say with just my country, we should be looking at all of the ideas all around the world and seeing what everybody does, and picking all of the best of what everybody does and using it in all of the systems that we do. But the fact that everybody has to monetize is kind of messing with the problem. Although I think when we have more energy into the situation, I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem, because there's going to be such a wide field, such a wide range of choices that people can select from as they decide who they are and how they want to interact with the future world. You know, what goods, or do I want to raise goat cheese, or do I want to, do Reiki healing, or do I want to teach people Tai Chi, or do I want to, make the most delicious Peking duck that anybody has ever, do I want to be a master baker, or do I want to run a B&B? Or do I want to drive, vehicles? Or do I want to design things? There's so many ways that human beings can be of service to this great all thing that we are becoming, that we are actually. We just got to lean into it and quit focusing primarily on physical aspects, out of alignment, things we don't want. You start focusing in a different way, and you start realizing that you're looking at a whole different picture than you thought you were. You're like, oh, is that who we are? Ooh, wow, that's way different than what we're being. Ooh, how are we going to reconcile that? You say, what we are and what we're being. Ooh, two different things. And actually, then you start realizing that that's actually the issue. We don't know who we are. We don't know how cool we are. We don't know where we came from. We think our story is bland and boring and already done. It's all chewed meat. There's nothing left for the young people to even explore. Au contraire. The universe is so much more multidimensional than my generation ever gave it credit for. And as it splinters and splinters into more and more and more and more and more glorious diversity, we're just really cool. We're really cool. We are not bad. We are good. We are good. But we are just being bad. We are being naughty. Hitler was just the naughtiest one. Actually, yeah, I can't say that. I tried to do that, but yeah, I can't say that. I am a student of I am academically interested in the World War II era for a lot of reasons. Now, specifically, Germany and the Nazis interest me psychologically. I mean, I find that whole thing a very interesting academic study. Now, my father fought in World War II, and he's still alive. As a matter of fact, he fought the Japanese, though. And I'm not really as up to speed with the psychology and the history, all of how Japan fit into all of that as much as... So hold on just a second. I can feel myself going into a blind alley. It's an energy thing. I got to go find my way back out. Who am I? What are we talking about? What is interesting about this to me? That's what is the fire that drives me forward. It's what about this topic that makes me think that it will be helpful to us to understand who we are and how our emotional guidance system works, how it really does work. We really are positive beings. And so what is the meaning of our negative self when we let it out? When we act on it, when we identify with it, when we focus on it with each other, when we bring it into the world. That is what we're doing when we do that. When you see, when your child is misbehaving and you see that misbehavior, instead of focusing, you focus the good in the center of the aperture of your focus, and then you see very, very clearly the true nature of the behavior through your peripheral vision. So you're not naive. You can see what's happening. You can see what we're doing. But you got to keep the light in the center of the aperture of our focus. You can't be putting the darkness in the center of the aperture of that focus. Speaking of the apertures of that focus, here you go. Apertures of focus. Now, this illustration to me means this is a representation of your two minds, these two spinning apertures, one very tightly focused in on very specifically where you are. That's you. You in your specific conventional self, the one on the right, that tight one. The wider one, open farther, is your source mind. And it's looking at, like, it's seeing everything and it's looking at what you want. That's the key to this whole system. Your source mind sees everything because it is vibrationally in touch with all the Plancks. It's reverberating across all the scales. All of the information is transferring up and all across the scales as all the individual specific parts upload their vibrational information up to the allness of the whole, and then the whole information of the allness gets vibrated back down to you because an infinite amount of information can be held on an infinitely small point. There is a point that we all share where all the information is. All the information is coming across that point, and it's in every proton, it's in every part of your quantum atomic structure, as these Plancks are exchanging all their information across the scales. And I believe that what our job is in our specific small self, that little, I know this is a poor picture. It's it's not even in focus, which is ironic in a way. It's because it was a smaller picture and I blew it up. But the point was just that it's apertures of focus. And your source mind's aperture is like the whole thing. But it's focused through the lens of you. And so you are a really important part of this equation, people. Whoever you are an important part of this equation. It's not, you need to be getting into your equipment, realizing who you are and being who you are for the whole thing, not sacrificing yourself for the whole thing. We are a really cool creature, a really cool design, but so the meaning of your positive and negative emotions. I promised that this was the meaning of your positive and negative emotions. Let's look at it this way. I like this picture. This one shows with momentum. You can see the momentum of this because you are these two selves, and your source self is always positive, cannot be negative. It's always looking at what is with a capital I. It doesn't have time to be musing about what isn't or any of the, it can't be negative. It's just looking at what is. That's your source self. And that's who you relentlessly are. And that is the meaning of your negative emotions, because your smaller self can go any direction, can go 360 spherical degrees in any direction, can go any direction. And when you pick a direction that is in conflict with what your inner being who knows, because it's vibrationally in touch with all of the atoms, all of physicality, knows who you are, who you were a second ago, who you were 5 minutes ago, who you were an hour ago, who you were a millennia ago, because it's keeping track of all of it, because it's in touch with all of this information too. It is in touch with all this information, and it is tracking. It's actually, the universe is recording it on a cosmic hard drive. And when you are remembering things, you're actually accessing the hard drive. Now, if you experienced it, you have a quicker way in because you have a direct relationship to the data. But it still is there on the cosmic hard drive. Your experience is there for all to remember forever and ever. Just accessing the information is the tricky part. And how is it recorded? It's recorded on that area of space where we were flying by at the time that it happened. It tracked on the hard drive of the space itself as it happened, as we flew by, as it happened. And Nassim Haramein calls this the space memory network. It's probably how come there is such a thing that some people understand the concept of the Akashic record and what all that is. That's probably all of that hard drive as it relates to the human story, maybe. I don't know. I'm not all that familiar. But that's what it is being recorded for all of forever. So who am I? Who am I in all of this? Well, I'm a being, living my life, trying to figure out what's going on and how it works. And what Abraham taught me about 4 years ago was the meaning of my negative emotion, because I didn't realize that. You think that the meaning of your negative emotion is simpler than that. You think it's, well, I witnessed a condition that I don't like, and it made me feel bad, and that's the meaning of my negative emotion. Well, yes and no. It's not as simple as that. If you look at our mind setup, let's go back to the neocortex diagram. Because you can see that some of the lower emotions, they're born in the mammalian brain. They're born as a knee-jerk reaction to a physical world around you. You see something you don't like and you get anxious, or you get frightened, or you get jealous about it. I want that piece of acorn, or whatever. Your maternal love is causing you to be attached. You have an attachment to something out in the physical world that you never had before. When you were a lizard, all you had to do is just drop your eggs and run. You don't have to care about anything other than you're out there looking for movement. You're looking for food. You're trying not to be food. And that's really all you're thinking about. When you become a mammal, all of a sudden you give birth to something that now you care about this thing more than you care about yourself. Many a mammalian mother would throw themselves into great jeopardy in order to save their child. It's a difference in the brain layer, what just happened to you as you had to have something that you're now attached to out in the outside world. Well, you get the neocortex and you have something else that happens. And that is, you have an overview perspective over that knee-jerk reaction from the mammalian brain telling you, I don't like this, or I don't like that, or that makes me scared, or whatever. You have a layer of mind that gives you overview. And it's very analogous to your inner being's overview to your position, although it's way overview, and it's longer too. It's a continuum of information and intention flowing back from behind us. Our intention to understand who we are, to be free, to live to the fullest our full, diverse, connected, aligned, joyfully sustainable selves. I think that's the object of the exercise. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it should be the object of the exercise, because it is going to be so much fun living in the world that's coming to us when we understand who we are. you know, who we are and how to work our equipment. Don't be fooled by your negative self. Your negative self is actually a relative discord between your two minds. It's crossed energy. It's energy that is in. You've got your wires crossed. You've got your lines crossed. You're turned backwards. There's all kinds of ways to describe this, but there's something that happens in the energy field when we do this, and it affects each other. It doesn't just affect you. When you are negative, when you go negative and you go off on your whatever, you help create this negative energy field that then we all have to deal with. We become angrier. We become more of a dark spirit. The land falls into, the demons start walking the land. And the only reason that they do that is because we're unleashing them as we allow our negative selves to drive our cosmic light starships, our vehicles of light. Don't let the demons drive your machine. When you are under the influence of a negative emotion, just take care of yourself. Ponder the mysteries of life. Put your feet in the water, your toes in the sand. Take a nap. Eat a snack. Watch a movie. Pet your cat. Anything to find your way back to who you really are, because that angry self that you are being is a product of a energetic situation we've got on the ground here. It's not an actual reflection of who you actually are. Who you are is a wholeness. It's a whole person, and it includes everything you have ever loved, everything you have ever cared about, every positive emotion you have ever had, every desire, every hope and dream, but not in a thwarted way, in a clear, just kind of a way. That's who you are. That's who you really are. And now you've got to be something else in this physical body. You got to understand your equipment. You got to understand where we got this equipment. At least I think we need to understand it, because it all plays into the whole story of who we are and where we came from, and why are we even on planet Earth trying to find sustainability. Why don't we already know how to be sustainable if we developed incrementally over eons and eons and eons and eons and eons of time? Why don't we know who we are? I think that also helps support the notion that we were genetically modified way back when. Now, I claim that source energy is a thing that we can understand. I do believe it is. The mathematics have been done. The math that describes the relationship, the scalar relationship between the quantum world and the cosmological world, and how at the quantum level, every proton is a black whole, a little black wholeness, a little integer of informational wholeness, as the Planck field of every proton is describing all of the rest of the protons in all of the rest of the universe. It's this one. Let's see, I have some slides here. I clipped them from the last paper that Nassim and his team published, called The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity, which is explaining how matter comes into being across the event horizon of the zero-point energy field, how it is spinning. Spin is fundamental. All organized matter is spinning, and it's all flowing in this big spin that we're all a part of, like cream in the swirling coffee. It's just like that. So my picture, is it this one? It's this one. This is the one. I clipped this from the paper. I have a playlist, and at some point I will share this playlist with you. It is on my channel. It's a playlist on my channel. So maybe you can already see it. I call it links list, but it's the links to all of the videos that used to be in my description of my video. It's the connected universe. It's the origin of mass, nature of gravity paper. It's the lost century and how to reclaim it. Please go watch that one. And if you can't find my link, just put this into the search bar at YouTube. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Full movie. It's there. It's there for free. And if it isn't, buy it. But it's for free to me. I have YouTube Premium, but I think it's free to everybody. They wouldn't be selling this one. They want this information out there open source. They want everybody to know over Unity devices are possible. Extraterrestrials are among us, and the reason that we're being lied to about it is not because they're afraid of like War of the Worlds or anything like that, but because we will become educated about something that some people do not want us to be educated about. And I'm not going to push back against those people because from my perspective, I'm coming at this from a position of there is no us and them. There's only one of us here. And so resistance is futile. Me pushing back against anything within the field of that I am one with is just sort of like an autoimmune disorder within myself. I don't want to do that. I do, however, absolutely believe in there's all kinds of conspiracies out there. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to chase any of them down and try to hold any of them to justice or whatever, because that will just delay us. Let's just go where we want to go. Let's don't waste any time trying to get vengeance, wreak vengeance upon those who have slowed it down for us. Let's just go where we want to go, know who we are, know what we can do, and just do it. Plug into source energy, plug into over Unity devices, get away from fossil fuel, recreate the abundance that should be our right here on planet Earth instead of this scarcity that we have been, this artificially created scarcity that is being caused by us being on fossil fuel overly long. We should be at the place now where we're at an energy level where we're better able to recycle all of our waste products, or fold them back in and creating stuff out of them instead of, we shouldn't have garbage island. We should have, we should be at a higher energy level. And I think we will. And it won't be that long. The first step, I'm not an energy expert at all. I'm certainly not a technical expert in any way, shape, or form. I am just kind of a general studies sort of expert. I'm a general is what I am. And it's funny because that actually is what my college degree, which is only a 2-year degree, is in general studies, woohoo, which I completed at 50 years old, woohoo. That's who I am. So who are we? Who are we and where are we going? Remember I said this is another part of it. As matter goes from thought to thing across the event horizon of the 0-point energy field, as it organizes, as it comes into organization, that organization is spin. Remember what I said? It is this gentle organizational force of spin that is trying to gently organize us in our real lives. Lean into it. Think of things that would be fun. Think of things that you like. Think of things that, especially the fun part, because if you can get your attitude towards the universe around you into an attitude of play, if you can get your attitude more play-like, then the fabric of the universe to you from that position turns more clay-like. So if you're playing with the universe, there's all kinds of things that we can do. But if you're up there like, oh my God, it's horrible, and it's such a pain and such a chore, and it's suffering, and it's, then it turns rigid on you, and you can't change any of it. It just stays right there in that rigid, awful, this feels bad kind of a way. And the reason is because the most important thing that you bring to the table at any given time is your state of being. Your state of being is telling you how well you are or are not locked into the frequencies that are flowing and expanding around you. That loving organizational force that is trying to pull us all together in a blessed, loving way. There's two kinds of organizational forces. There's that one, and then there's the other one that spins the other direction, and it is a force like the organizational force of a hurricane or a tornado. Those storms are organized, and they are organized along the lines of spin. But it's the outie, not the innie. The innie is the love. The innie is gravity, too, by the way. It is. In a mysterious kind of way, it's gravity. Who am I? And me and my consciousness and my machinery is smack dab in the middle of this whole equation. Walking on a grid, playing an avatar. What's the name of the game? Well, how you name this game determines how you play it. What's the object of your exercise? What do you have up at the top of your operating system? Do you have he who dies with the most toys wins? Or he who amasses more power to themselves and conquers because only the fittest will survive, and so I will stand at the top of the heap of dead enemies and I will be victorious. Is that how you're playing the game? Do you think you need to be in eternal conflict with all of the nations around you in order to determine who is the fittest and who has the right to survive? That actually was how Hitler saw it. And no wonder that turned out so bad. No wonder. What you put at the top of that operating system is everything, and how you define who am I and what is this playing field I'm on and what are the rules of the game. Is it a 0-point game? Is it a zero-sum game? Or is it a game of infinite abundance and expanding possibility? Which one? Is it finite pie? Or is it ever expanding pie based on how you are chasing your bliss, the expansion of your desires is causing the expansion of the field around you in a desirable manner because you are directing it along the lines of what's better and what's cooler and where's the win, 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 win. It's not a win-lose. We are not playing a win-lose game, although you can play it like a win-lose game, and if you do, you will just end up with filling the world with losers all around us instead of playing it like a win-win and then all of us are winners. Did you know that we are so flexible, so malleable, the universe is so agreeable. The mirror reflecting it all back to us is so perfect. There is no mistake. And who am I in this holographic universe? Who am I? I see I'm an hour and 19 minutes into the program. I hope I have a lot of new viewers today because I was on it. I was on fire! Don't know what I'm going to talk about now. We can get off fossil fuels. And we can know who we are. We can be more peaceful beings unto this planet. We can have access to all of the information of all of the universe and all of the information of the human field, by the way. There's no reason for all of this proprietary this and this, at least at some point. It should be wide open. All information is accessible to all beings through all sources. It's going to be anyway. Passwords are going to be useless because we all have access to all of the information. It's got screening mechanisms. So the information that is not as relevant to you is not coming at you with as much priority. You know, the information of what is happening on Tuesday afternoon on that third planet to the right and that fifth star in that 25th galaxy at that 10th cluster to the left of us is not coming at you in a really high priority way. It's buried in the frequencies in there somewhere. Now, that would mean that in order to get to places, you would need a pathway through the frequencies in order to get to the frequency of whatever's going on that planet that I was just talking about. You could do it. All of the information of everything in all of the universe should be accessible to all of us. But only as we start understanding this divine, holy structure that we are embedded in and abiding in and a part of, blessedly a part of. I do believe that the ticket to intergalactic relationships is an understanding of the peaceful, loving, connected nature of the whole thing, the vibrational, connected, peaceful nature of the whole thing. I think it's part of, I don't think you can just be, a warring Klingon and jump into a starship and head into battle across the universe. I don't think it works that way. I think that your misunderstanding of the situation will prohibit you from getting very far. All you might be able to do is pierce the atmosphere of your planet in a very phallic-like way as you thrust outward with your very, with your rockets and your such like, your phallic rocket symbols. That's about as far as you're going to get. You might get to the farthest reaches of your own solar system, but I don't know how we're going to make it across the galaxy unless we understand all of this from a frequency and energy and vibrational standpoint. Who am I? How does this really work? So I never like to end before an hour and a half, so I really want to talk about this for a few more minutes. But I'm actually pretty pleased with the way the show has gone today. I just launched into some stuff and I put it together along neural lines that I don't think I have ever quite done that before. I think they're new neural pathways I am creating by this oral meditation that I do every day, this discussion every day about who am I? Who am I? Who am I? I think it's having an effect, connecting me to the field. So what do I want to talk about? What have I not talked about today? I haven't talked about cymatics. I do have these slides. The reason I put these into my OBS studio, and the reason that cymatics is even a topic, is because it helps illustrate the vibrational nature of our universe. We live in a vibrational universe. And you can see it visually. Cymatics is the study of the relationship between vibration and form. That's what the study of cymatics is. And it was pioneered by a man named Hans Jenny, who started out with, he'd take a metal plate, a flat metal surface, and sprinkle a granular medium onto the top of it, and then pipe a vibration through the plate, and observe as the plate, the sand or salt or whatever he's got going on there would dance its way into a coherent pattern. Change the frequency, and you'd change the pattern. Make the frequency, increase the frequency, and the pattern would become more complex. These are cymatic patterns that I'm showing right now on the screen. They are digital cymatic patterns. And these cymatic patterns, these are different. These are upper right and lower left. That's a metal plate and a granular medium. Actually, I don't know what those ones just to the left of that look like snowflakes, but a snowflake is a cymatic pattern too, because it is a crystal that is forming on a vibrational frequency, and the pattern of it is determined by the frequency that it's forming on. And that's how come they're all different, because there's so much stuff going on out there in the ethers. And then now if you look at the upper left and lower right, those are also cymatic patterns. The pattern in the tortoise shell, and then these are some kind of sea creature. I don't know if that's a trilobite or whether that's some living creature, whether it's an old fossil, but those are cymatic patterns too, caused by vibrational frequencies, because we do indeed live in a vibrational universe. It is a vibrational universe, and it is winking all the way in and all the way out every Planck instant. It is becoming completely new, and then completely winking out, and then completely new again. And it's doing it, as it's doing it, it's all of the parts are uploading to the whole, all the whole is downloading to the parts. At the same time, there's this whole thing that's happening, and it's being guided by focus and attention. And as you focus on certain... So I think the most important thing to think about, because we live in a vibrational universe, is the vibrations involved, as in the spirits, the emotions, the spirits. And so I'm going to tell a story. I think I might have said it I might have even said it yesterday, but it might have been the day before yesterday. And it doesn't matter. It could be part of I could tell this story every day if I wanted to. So, let me see if I can find it. I should go back to my studio and pause this for a second. Okay. So I'm going to move this to some other screen. I like this one. Sometimes this is the beginning of my videos because I really like this. This just has a lovely quality to it. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell you this story. This comes from Milton Mayer. I told you I was an academic student of the Holocaust and World War II, Nazi history, and that whole Hitler phenomenon. What the hell was that? Kind of a thing. So what he's talking about is they focused on the forms. And then one day they realized that everything had changed because they had been focusing on the forms and they didn't notice the spirit changing underneath their feet. And now all of a sudden, everything was changed. Let's see, I don't want to necessarily do the whole quote. Let's see. Let's see. Everything, it collapses all at once, and you see that everything has changed, and changed completely under your nose. The world you live in, your nation, your people, is not the world that you were born in at all. The forms are all there, all untouched, all reassuring. The houses, the shops, the jobs, the meal times, the visits, the concerts, the cinema, the holidays, but the spirit which you never noticed because you made the lifelong mistake of identifying with it with the forms is changed. Now you live in a world of hate and fear, and the people who hate and fear do not even know it themselves. So the whole point is we've got to quit focusing on the form like it's primary. The form is not what's primary, people. The form is definitely there. It's definitely real. But the form is secondary. And what's primary is the spirit. And that's what you have to keep in the center of the aperture of your focus. As you choose your way and choose your life and your experiences and all that. How do we do that? Well, we're going to come back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, and we're going to keep talking about it. I almost did not come back into the studio this morning. I was sleeping so nicely, and it was 4:45, and I was like, oh, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up. And then I just did, and I couldn't help myself. And so I got up and I did the show, and I'm glad I did. Because I think I went to some places that I haven't been going to before. I've been a little more by rote. Anyway, I'll be back again tomorrow. I love you. I love you. I love you. You are a part of me. I am a part of you. We are all in this together. We truly are, although each one of us has to call their own shots, has to find their own way. I've got to find my way. You've got to find your way. But we are all in this together. And that is good news. And so until tomorrow, do the best you can. And as always, may the source be with you.